StreamYard. I'm pretty sure I'm live on both. Okay. Welcome aboard, everybody. It's Saturday Baseball. Let me check the chat room, see what's going on. Yay, Jay Stubbs. Nice to see you. Eddie's getting rain. You know, so that kind of makes me feel better because we were supposed to be at the Baltimore game last night. I was really sad watching the highlights of yesterday's game because I was feeling like I should be there. But today was going to be an outdoor get together that is a charity event that happens every year at Phil's house. And I'm kind of glad we didn't make the drive down there because it's quite a long drive. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on with the COVID. And so we decided to stay home. But it is, I mean, unfortunately for you, Eddie, but I think that the fan is moving the camera like crazy. Hold on. I really need the fan because it's really hot here. Here it's not raining. Here is humid for sure. So, alrighty, everybody, thanks for joining us. Hopefully Malpal will show up. Nice to see you, Douglas and Leonard, of course, my best fan. And that's it. Let's get started. Let's talk about, we're going to give you news. News, of course, there's news. First of all, I will give a shout out to Alek Manoah. I liked him since I saw him in spring training. He's the first pitcher since 1901 to start his career with 4 hits or fewer in 10 straight starts. Hold on a second. I'm turning off the fan because it's making the camera move. Is it still moving? Okay. It's always something, right? It's always something for sure. So just Lenny, give me a shout and let me know if the camera is moving still and you're getting nauseous just watching this video. Anyway, Alek Manoah, 4 hits or fewer in 10 straight starts. That's awesome for a youngster, you know, especially a prospect. It's just really very rare to see this, and I give him a lot of credit, and I feel like I found him early, so I'm pleased with that. Mookie Betts left the game yesterday with right hip discomfort, and the problem with this is that he's already been on the injured list like last month, so recently with hip problems, and he was like he was showing signs of injury, like he was showing symptoms that it was sore, like he was limping or he was looking like his hip was bothering him, but he stayed in the game until the 7th inning, which is just ridiculous because between the 1st and the 7th inning, a lot could happen to make it worse when, you know, no player wants to come out of the game. So, of course, but the manager is supposed to be looking for stuff like this. And if you see a player who's like dealing with an injury that he's already had this year one time, at least, then why do you leave him in the game till the 7th inning? I don't get that. So that's just, you know, my opinion. But Brandon Belt is back. He went 1 for 4 with a solo home run. Yesterday he came back. That was yesterday, but he's hit in both games since he's been back. Also, someone else for, the San Francisco Giants, which I love and I'm rooting for, but I still am rooting for the Padres too. So anyway, Nelly Cruz last night. So Eddie's talking about the game a little bit. He's not here right now, so we'll talk about that when he comes back. Nice to see you, Malpal. Good. Thanks for showing up. And Tina too, if you're there, Tina, listening. So let's talk about next week a little bit, and we'll talk about news and stuff as we go. I'm not sure what Lenny sent for Nuggets because I didn't even bother to look at them, but I will definitely take a look at the Nuggets, or we'll talk about the Nuggets tomorrow because we're going to be back, Lady and the Legend, at 9 a.m. Yesterday, Lenny kicked me to the curb. I think he was just excited to talk about the trade deadline and stuff. So anyway, that's fine. I don't take it personal, you know. He probably just needs a break from me sometimes, which I don't blame him. Or anybody, somebody needs a break sometimes. Anyway, next week, we're talking that the Rays face 4 left-handed pitchers on the schedule. Next week, 3 at Boston, 3 lefties in a row at Boston. And then they go to Minnesota. They face 1 lefty in youngster Charlie Barnes. Wander Franco is one that you might want to like take a look at or make sure that you start if you have him on your team. I know he's been pretty awful and disappointing, but he is much better against lefties than he does hit against righties. He bats 306, okay, and actually, like almost half of his plate appearances so far in the majors have been against lefties, and he is much better against them. He strikes out less, he takes more walks, he hits the ball hard. He has an average exit velocity of 93.3 miles an hour off of lefties. 4 of them again this week. That is somebody to totally put active. If if he's ever going to do anything this year, it's going to be this next week. Brandon Lau is somebody that you might want to think about. I mean, Brandon Lau is like a guy that you probably don't just bitch just because he has a bad matchup, but he's been absolutely horrific, okay, against lefties. He bats 149 with a 38.3% strikeout rate against left-handed pitchers. So if you think about this, he's worse than starting like just about anybody against a lefty. So don't try to avoid Brandon Lau against lefties. Also, Austin Meadows is not hitting lefties well this season. He's batting .071 against, no, that's his ISO. 071 is his ISO, and he hasn't really been hitting anyways over the past couple months. He's been in like this prolonged slump with Austin Meadows. So, if you have to decide if you have to bench an outfielder or whatever, and he's one of the choices, you might just bench him for a couple. Because if you do, dude, it's a sacrifice, but it will pay off because as soon as you bench him, he'll start hitting. That's how it works. The Cardinals coming up. They rank 15th in WOBA in the second half, even though right before this first half ended, they were horrific offensively. And it was like the theory was that if you have a pitcher, you start them if they're facing the Cardinals because their offense was just horrific. And it's been better since the All-Star break, since the second half started. You could consider Harrison Bader is not having a bad season for once. I think he's a good start this coming week. Also, as much as I hate this because I've seriously Lenny and I are big fans of Paul DeJong. We always seem to end up with him on our team because he goes so affordable at drafts and he's like a late round pick. We know that he's a power hitter, right? That strikes out a lot or has a horrible batting average for whatever reason. He's always got a horrible batting average. And this year but see, it's worth putting him on your roster when he's hitting home runs, right? But it's not worth putting on your roster when he's not doing that, when he's hitting like crap so bad that he like doesn't even hit in the middle of the order anymore. He hits at the bottom because he's horrible. But he could be one to consider starting. The Cardinals have 3 road games apiece against the Pirates and the Kansas City Royals. So we like the matchups here. Brad Keller is the toughest matchup that they face all week. So, I mean, Brad Keller's been better lately, but the Cardinals have they just have good matchups in the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Kansas City Royals. So consider Harrison Bader. Consider maybe in deeper leagues, Paul DeJong, definitely worth a home run or 2, hopefully. He's been just a nightmare, though, I have to warn you. Also, make sure that Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, that none of those guys are available in your league because I guarantee they're available somewhere out there. These guys, especially like Tommy Edman, doesn't bat leadoff anymore because he's been going through slumps and his position eligibility is only so useful when he's not hitting good and he's hitting less because he's not hitting in the leadoff spot. That's a huge asset for an offensive guy. Anyways, Tyler O'Neill, he went 4 for 4 yesterday, I think. All 3 of these guys, definitely start them and definitely make sure that they're not sitting on the waiver somewhere. Then the Oakland Athletics, even though they just found out that Ramon Laureano is now suspended for 80 games because of performance-enhancing substance. He is going to miss the rest of the season, including the start of next season because of it. Does that mean that he's already been caught doing this one time? I mean, this seems like the 80-game suspension, I think, seems that it comes after you've already gotten like a warning punishment, right? He's suspended for 80 games. That sucks for them. And also they have horrible news because their guy that does the that sits in the booth and does the broadcasting of the game, the play-by-play guy or color announcer, I think he's the color guy for the Oakland Athletics, but he's been there forever. He put out a note saying that he has been secretly battling cancer for the last 16 years and he has to leave now. He's like his resignation immediately, but that's pretty sad because all the players look at him like he's part of the team as family. Like, when you've been around a team that long, especially when you're the guy talking about the team, like the players. And anyway, the players were saying a lot of nice things about him. So he wants to take the time off to spend with his family. That doesn't make you feel like it's too positive, but that's sad news for the Oakland Athletics. But it doesn't seem like it hasn't really bothered them too bad. Actually, they won yesterday and they've won 2 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're 3 games behind Houston only, okay? And they're in a wild card spot as we speak. So this is not the end of the line for the Oakland Athletics, and you do hope the best for them going forward. But there is definitely some fantasy implications with Laureano going out, and well, Starling Marte is there. Thank God, right? Starling Marte is there. Thank goodness. What is Laureano's not even showing up? Oh, there he is, suspended. Okay. He's a center fielder. So you have Starling Marte in center field. Then you have Mark Canha in right field, a fantasy bargain if there ever was one. And then Josh Harrison is playing left field. He played yesterday. You know how he is. You know what you're going to get from him. It's mediocre stuff, but he can play all over the place, utility type of guy. They also have Stephen Piscotty, who's hitting like crap. I could say shit. He's hitting like shit. But Jed Lowry's having a good year, and I think that Matt Chapman is still going to do okay. He's been slumping, but it's time to pull him off the bench. If you have Matt Chapman benched, you can safely bring him off the bench this week because upcoming they get to leave Oakland Ballpark, which is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. They get to go to more hitter-friendly places. They're going to Cleveland for 3 games, and then they get to go to Texas for 3 games. The Texas matchup is delightful. And the Cleveland matchup, they're facing Tristan McKenzie, Cal Quantrill, and Eli Morgan. And by the way, if I don't talk about Cal Quantrill again in the show, because I meant to put him on my list of starting pitchers to consider grabbing, he's definitely turned a corner. Absolutely turned a corner. Yesterday, he pitched really well. And so I think he had a career high strikeouts, but I was waiting for him to get stretched out so that he was going to be able to go deeper into games. Then he was worth putting on your roster as a starting pitcher. But until he could throw 5 innings, then he doesn't qualify for a win. So what the heck's the point in putting him on your team? Anyway, back to him later, but do take a look for him on the waiver this week. He doesn't have 2 starts or anything. In fact, I think, he just pitched yesterday. So he won't pitch again till like Thursday. But regardless, you got to love the fact that he's pitching for Cleveland, okay? Because Cleveland loves to put their pitchers in start and leave them in there for lots of innings. All right, so keep an eye on that. Dane Dunning is the pitcher that they face in Texas. And they also get to face Jordan Lyles and Colby Allard, who's been absolutely horrific lately. You got Colby Allard and Adbert Alzolay. Both of these guys have 2 start weeks. Both of these guys are like, do not think of putting them on your roster. It's not a good idea. All right. So you have Jed Lowry. Make sure you put him on. You might want to think about Josh Harrison if you're desperate. He'll be playing a lot. And Mark Canha, definitely put on your active roster. And then Matt Chapman, get him off your bench. Moving forward, he's better than Paul DeJong, that's for sure. So if that makes you feel better. Just kidding. Okay. Milwaukee, they have 7 good matchups this coming week. They get to play 4 games at Wrigley Field, and then they face Alec Mills, Kyle Hendricks, Jake Arrieta, and Albert Alzolay, who has a 6.39 ERA and almost 3 home runs per 9 in his last 9 starts. So he's giving up just a crap load of home runs, and his ERA stinks. So I think he has 2 starts. Watch out for him. I already told you that. But Colton Wong, he should be rostered. Wiley Adames, of course, he's active and should continue to be. Rowdy Tellez, Tyrone Taylor, these 2 are worth adding. They're good pickups. Rowdy Tellez, especially, he is hitting like Austin Riley is another one. Like Austin Riley is a huge surprise for me because of how bad he did when he first came up. He just had no plate discipline. Like he could not stop striking out, and he just was a real disappointment when he first came up. But that's to be expected anyways. So I was hesitant to give him more chances, but Rowdy, and these are 2 of Lenny's favorites, Rowdy and Austin Riley. I mean, I don't know about favorites, but fantasy, good ads for him for fantasy. He has them on several teams. He's been talking about both of these guys. They both hit really hard, and both of these guys should be absolutely rostered. So then we move on to, I told you, Colton Wong active, Tyrone Taylor, Rowdy Tellez. Those are 2 Milwaukee Brewers that have good 7 games this coming week. Tigers have good matchups too. So there's probably several Tigers out there available on the waiver wire, right? 3 at Baltimore, and then they have 3 at home versus Cleveland. John Means is the toughest pitcher that they're going to face all week. And you might think about adding guys like Akil Baddoo. I already told you that Eric Haas should be on your team if you haven't rostered him yet, because he qualifies at catcher, but he actually doesn't play catcher most of the time. So that's great. Robbie Grossman actually left Thursday's game after he got hit by a pitch on his left elbow. So keep an eye there. But do consider some of these Detroit Tigers batters for this coming week because of the matchups for sure. The Phillies, they have the worst week for hitters. The Phillies have the worst schedule coming up, okay, for hitters. Now, the Phillies are the story of the day because the Phillies are winning. All of a sudden, I see this Bryce Harper for National League MVP or something like that. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, where did that come from? Because I'm as big of a Harper fan as anybody, okay? But this idea that he's, MVP or whatever. Well, they've won 6 games in a row right now. And Harper's a big reason for that. So, I love the Phillies for this reason. I think that it's great that they said, hell no, we're not giving up. We have Harper, and that's probably a good chunk of it. It's not just passion to win or try or any of that. It's mostly about the fact that they have guys like Harper that they invested a ton of money in. Why would they give up, They see flaws in the Mets, like their defense and their inability to get Conforto to hit the ball, or Lindor being out now, and just problem after problem with the Mets. So the Phillies said, we're not sellers, we are buyers. That must have made the fans so happy in Philly. And you got to be, I'm happy for them. They that's really fun. So Harper is on fire right now. Let me just look at what he did. He hit his 18th homer yesterday. He had a solo home run. He scored 2 runs on Thursday, and just he's batting .407 in the last week with 3 homers, 7 RBI. I mean, you get the picture, okay? He's not stealing bases, but he's out of control good. That's great for anybody that drafted him. But on the season, he is batting .305 on the season. So I have to say, the only teams that I have Harper on are best ball teams, and I should go check those out. That's the funnest part of these best ball leagues, because you could you set it and forget it. That's it. You don't have a choice. You just leave it, and it does what it does. There's nothing you can do. So I check in every once in a while with these teams, and Harper's on a couple of those. I better go find out how they're doing. Douglas, how is the best ball that we're in together? Or Malpal, how are those going? Best balls that we're in. I would love to know. I would love to find out that I'm winning one of them or something. Like maybe I'm just at least in second or third. That would be great. But I'm not having a great season, I have to say, fantasy wise. Anyways, the Phillies have the worst schedule coming up. They have to go to, they have to play against the Dodgers and Cincinnati. This is these are the pitchers that the Phillies have to face upcoming week: Scherzer, Price, Julio Urias, Tyler Mahle, and Luis Castillo and Sonny Gray. That is no good for these poor cats, but we'll see what happens. I mean, they've been playing excellent. Like I said, they've won 6 in a row. That's huge. That's the most wins in a row of any team in baseball. And then you have the Yankees, who are right there with them. The Yankees and the Tampa Bay. So, by the way, the Red Sox just lost first place in the American League East. And they're 2 games back, actually, from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay might have taken the lead maybe a couple days ago. It's new to me. But the Yankees are coming out of nowhere, too. I didn't think that they were that bright adding Gallo instead of pitching, but they apparently know better than we do because, they have won 4 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. And look at the Blue Jays, too. Don't forget about the Blue Jays. I'm not forgetting about them. I think they can win this division. No joke. They're 6.5 games behind Tampa. They've won 4 in a row, too. They're 8-2, just like the Yankees in the last 10 games. And the Red Sox, sorry, but it was bound to happen. I mean, 2-8 over the last 10. They're absolutely not. JD Martinez is back, injured, COVID, we think. I'm pretty sure he's got COVID. He's on the COVID IL. He wasn't feeling very good yesterday, so they put him out for precautionary reasons. He did say that he had close contact with somebody that had symptoms, so he will be there until he passes 2 tests negative for COVID. So he'll be there. But he could return tomorrow because he hasn't tested positive yet. We'll see. There's a couple other players that are on the COVID injured list, and you should prepare for this because obviously this new Delta variant is spreading like crazy. And I'm just saying that this is the COVID IL, I think, is used for sneaky reasons too. I really think it's the best phantom DL that you ever heard of because you can bring a player back anytime you want. You don't have to wait for 10 days. And I just think that it's being used for sneaky reasons, first of all. On top of that, there is a lot of COVID going around. Luckily, it's not as dangerous, okay, as that first one. So we'll see. And most of these guys are vaccinated anyways. So they're supposed to at least get less hurt or less symptoms, less hospitalization, less anything. Hopefully. We're, hoping for that. Anyway, Seattle. So Phillies have the worst week for hitters, but that doesn't mean you should be benching them. If you have a choice, if you have to bench somebody, the Phillies would be a good one to bench. Since I told you they have to face Max Scherzer, they have to face the Dodgers, okay, 3 from the Dodgers. Then they have to go and they have to face Cincinnati's best pitchers. It's actually at home, so that even hurts that hurts the hitters even more because they're not at the home run bandbox of Cincinnati. Okay. Seattle versus Texas and versus Toronto. So Seattle is one too that you should say, okay, well, it looks like a decent anytime Seattle gets to play at home is good for the pitchers and it's bad for the hitters. So that's one bad thing about this week is that they are home all week. Texas, of course, is a great team to face at home for their hitters and their pitchers, but Toronto is obviously not a great team to face at home, and they actually are horrible. They have the major's lowest home WOBA in 7 home games against the Rangers. That's the Rangers. They're a horrible team. They're the only team that loses to the Rangers, though. They have a 308 weighted on base average, and that is no good. Plus, they have to face Jose Barrios, Ryu, and Steven Matz or Stripling, one of the two, Matz or Stripling. That's on top of the great pitchers that they get to face. But they're still horrible against Texas. So you got a really good team that they're facing. That's no good. Then you have a team that's really bad, but when you look at it, Seattle's just horrible against them for some reason. They're no good against Texas. They crushed the Yankees, though, at home, I have to say. They always have. All right. So I would say if you have to bench somebody too, it's Seattle, Phillies, bench. And then if you have to choose, then you should choose the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals are pretty good, and the Rays face 4 lefties. So there's certain players on that team that you would, but we've already talked about that. So let's move on. Let's talk about Aaron Sanchez is going to pitch today, by the way. He's who knows what he'll do. He hasn't been great, and he is going to be facing the Brewers. He's going to replace DeSclafani. Aaron Sanchez just returned from the injured list last week, and he's made 2 appearances as a multi-inning reliever. So he's allowed 1 run on 4 hits, and he's walked 4. And that's in 5 innings. That's not good. But, I love the San Francisco pitching. I'm not very pleased about what's happening with them right now. Look, they got Gausman out. Now DeSclafani's out. This is a problem for them. And they're 4 games ahead of the Dodgers in the NL West. Yeah. So you have the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. We're pretty sure that the wild cards are going to, there's 2 wild cards in each, NL and AL, 2 wild cards. So you think about this. The National League West has a potentially 2 wild cards. The National League East is a division that we thought would be really good. The fact is that whoever wins the National League East is probably going to be the only team in that division that gets to go to the playoffs. So that's just my theory so far, because right now, all the teams, if you don't win that division, these teams are 5 games out of the wild card. Every team other than the division winner is 5 or more games out of the wild card spot. At least 2 of, I really think that one of the wild cards is coming out of the NL West, for sure, no doubt about it. And then perhaps the NL Central, but that's the interesting thing. It's one of these teams is going to make the playoffs while the other 4 do not. That means Philly, Mets, Braves, Nationals, and the Marlins. Only one of those is going to the playoffs. That's what I think. Okay, that's just my guess. So let's talk about some hitters to pick up. Then we'll talk about some pitchers to grab. And let me check in, and we'll do some 2-star pitchers too. Hi, Douglas. Okay, so the Vegas odds swapped, and now the Phillies are favored over the Mets in Vegas. Well, that's just based on who's betting. How many is betting? Go get Bumgarner, Giants. Oops, you're late. Why? Well, I don't know. Hi, guest Maxine. Nice to see you. It's always fun trying to guess who the guests are. Okay. Hunter Renfroe is not a great fantasy guy, but he did hit a homer last night. Plus, his last 6 hits have all gone for extra bases. He has 3 home runs and 3 doubles in his last. Well, it's taken him a while for these last 6 hits, by the way. This isn't just like the last 6 times he's walked up to the plate. It's actually the last 6 times he's gotten a hit. It's taken him 7 games to get 6 hits, but whatever it is, he's hitting extra base hits. We know he's a power guy. The Red Sox are just not doing that great right now. JD Martinez is out. I told you that. Hunter Renfroe is 29. You know what you're getting out of him. He's actually, for as far as batting average goes, he is not that bad, okay, this season compared to what he normally has been in the past. He's got 18 home runs. If he's available, I would say 2. Pick him up. He's hot right now, and he goes through streaks, and they're not very long-lived. So that's the frustrating. Jack Mayfield is a guy. He's been Jack Mayfield. Anthony Rendon is out for the season. We know this. So he's going to get to play all the time for the Angels. He has power. He's homered in the last couple. Let's see. He has 3 home runs in the last 4 games, 7 for 14 with 5 RBIs in the last 4 games. So before that, though, he was pretty bad. He was hitting 187 with 4 home runs over 91 at-bats. But right now, he is getting better. And he did have good numbers at AAA. He had 26 home runs in 100 games at AAA. So he also hit for average down there. I don't know what he's going to do up here, but, he wasn't hitting for average at all. That's typical. Just maybe he's figured something out. And you could definitely pick him up. He will get playing time. So That's really what this is about. I would say Adam Engel, but I'm not really that big of a fan. I have him on the list. He stole 2 bases, so that's why he went on the list. But like he was 0 for 8 with 4 strikeouts in the 2 games at the Royals, so he was actually I think he was benched for a second. Anyways, Friday is the series opener. That's yesterday. He reached base all 4 times. That's really great. So now he has 3 stolen bases in his last 4 games, and that's why I bring him up. He's hit 245 with 1 home run, 4 doubles, 5 RBIs, and 5 runs, and 4 stolen bases since the All-Star break. So that's good. He's been on this list for, I would say, the last 3 weeks. We've had Adam Engel on the list, or since he came back from injury, we've had him on the list. Frank Schwindel is a first baseman in Chicago Cubbies. He's been starting. He started each of the last 4 games. He's 6 for 16 with a home run, a double, 3 RBIs, 2 runs, and a walk. Yesterday, he went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer, 2 runs, and 3 strikeouts. So that just pretty much sums up what you're going to get from this Mr. Frank Schwindel. He is a strikeout power first baseman. You know the guy. That's what he is. Taylor Jones is a Houston first baseman. Same type of deal here. He's going to get to play regularly because Yuli Gurriel is out, and he hit his first home run of the season yesterday. 177 is what his batting average is, with 7 RBIs and 5 runs and 67 plate appearances. So he just hit his first home run this season. Kyle Farmer, did we already talk about him? Kyle Farmer has the most points of anybody available in my Tout Wars League over the past 2 weeks. So he shows up right at the top when you're looking for, you're sorting by points. Now, this guy plays everywhere, okay? He plays first, second, shortstop, and third. He is scoring points, and I have to say, 9 RBIs have come in the last 2 weeks. So in the last 2 weeks, he has 2 home runs, 10 on the season. I told you 9 RBIs. He's got 39 total. 3 doubles, 2 triples, and 12 runs scored in the past 2 weeks. Definitely, put him high up on the want list. Rafael Ortega, another Cubby. He plays outfield. He's had 4 home runs in the last 2 weeks. 9 RBIs again, and 2 stolen bases and 1 caught stealing. But I did put the fact that he gets caught stealing on here because he's on the season. He has 5 total stolen bases, and he's been caught 5 times stealing. I do not say that this would be the best bet for steals. In fact, maybe like Myles Straw or the guy that we just mentioned, Adam Engel, for stolen bases, because at least they're successful for a good part of the time. I put Miggy on the list. I just want to take every opportunity that I can give credit to Miggy because he's such a great veteran player, clubhouse guy. He's hit 4 home runs in the past 2 weeks with 9 RBIs. He's mostly hit, playing DH first base. And Miggy, I do think both him and Pujols don't have anything to be ashamed of on how they're going to finish their contracts. These contracts were outrageous. I hope that most baseball teams learned a lesson, but they didn't, because they signed Harper and they signed Machado, and they're going to continue to sign guys like Lindor and these guys for 10-year contracts, and these guys are not going to be healthy for that long. So anyways, Miggy and Pujols, I just give them a lot of credit. So I was able to sneak him into the conversation. Elias Diaz is a Colorado catcher. He's hit 5 home runs in the past 2 weeks. He's got 13 home runs on the season. So this guy, I mean, especially when he's home, I would definitely, try to put this guy in. I have him in a couple different leagues. One of the leagues that I have him in is this ESPN National League Only league that I really love. And I think that I really like this league, especially since I know I'm not going to lose a guy if he goes to the other league now. So that's great. Anyways, he's got 11 runs scored in the past 2 weeks. A lot of that does have to do with the fact that the Rockies were home. That's the truth. Sam Hilliard is another Rockies that Lenny's going to be like, I told you I don't like Sam Hilliard, but I have to put him on here because you can't be biased. You can't. I'm trying to help you guys with players, and he's totally deserves to be on the list. He's got 4 home runs in the past 2 weeks, whatever, 2 weeks, 10 RBIs, 5 home runs. Okay. No. He's hitting 294 over the past week, and he has 5 home runs and 10 RBIs over the past 2 weeks. He's got power. He's got speed. He's been a disappointment. Everybody tries to blame the fact that he had to change positions and all this BS, but he only qualifies in the outfield now, so don't even worry about the position eligibility. It's not there. There is speed there a little bit, but I haven't seen it yet this year. They say that it's still there, but obviously Sam Hilliard is probably available, and if he is, at your own risk. He just hasn't done anything. But again, I already told you Mayfield. I already told you Rowdy Tellez. Let's talk about some pitchers. We have Devin Williams is going to get some saves coming up immediately. Josh Hader is out with COVID, or he might maybe just was around somebody with COVID. We don't know yet if he has it. He's out right now. Devin Williams got his first save last night. This is a big deal, so I should have maybe put this in as like my headliner. This is a big deal. Devin Williams was so ridiculously disappointing for me because I drafted him in several leagues, and it took me a while before I decided to drop him. One of the reasons was because I believe he was injured, and it's free to put an injured player on the injured list in that league, but it's horrible because he was like Josh Hader Jr. Do you remember? He was going to be so good this year, and he has been so bad. But right now, look, in the past, since the beginning of June, he has an ERA less than 1, 10 holds, got his first save last night. His whip is 115, but he has 5 wins. Okay, 5 wins. That's like, this is exactly what I wanted him to do from the beginning of the season, and too bad he didn't start the season doing this. But right now he has an opportunity to get saved on top of the fact that he does get wins. Even when Josh Hader comes back, if he continues on this road, which he's striking out 15 batters per 9 innings, we already know he does that. He does have a little problem with walks here. 5 walks per 9. That's not great. That's why his whip is higher than his ERA, but anyways, Devin Williams is an immediate. Like, if you go and add him right now, you would be smart. He needs to be rostered everywhere. Tyler Anderson is a pitcher. He had a good the last 6 starts. He had a 3.34 ERA, 24 strikeouts in 35 innings. Plus, he doesn't give up a lot of walks. Or barrels, actually. He's only given up 5 barrels in 112 batted ball events this season. He could be somebody. Brad Keller is facing St. Louis. And remember, I told you, like, I don't know. St. Louis is not the doormats that they were before the All-Star break, but they're still not horribly great. They just have really good matchups this coming week. Brad Keller, like I said, is their toughest matchup this week. Brad Keller is also somebody that you might consider picking up because he's got a 10.7 swinging strike rate over the past 5 starts. And that really is probably the reason why his ERA is under 3 and 23.2% strikeout rate since July 4th. And tonight he actually pitches. So keep an eye on Brad Keller. He's going to face St. Louis. We'll see how good St. Louis does against Brad Keller tonight, facing him for the first time. Or not maybe for the first time, but it's going to be a preview of what happens this coming week with Brad Keller. So pay attention to that. And if he, I would consider him as a pickup tomorrow. Nestor Cortes. Let me hold on a second. What team is he on? Is he Houston? Hold on a second. Nestor Cortes is a Yankee. Okay. He's on the list. All right. The Yankees obviously have room for this guy in their rotation. He finally did, though, his last start. I'm going to pull him up real quick, his numbers. His last start, he finally went 5 innings, or he's stretched out now to go 5 innings, which means that maybe his last 2 starts, he's gone 5 innings. So both last 2 starts, 5 innings. That's a super, super sign, and that's why he's on this list to pick up. He gets to face Kansas City this coming week. He has a 1.93 ERA and a 30.5% strikeout rate. Okay. He's been doing very good. So he is 26 years old and he made his major league debut in 2018. And this is clearly the best he's done so far in the major leagues by far. Just a reliever. I don't think he made a lot of starts. He started one game in 2020 and one game in 2019. But so far this year, he's made 4 starts. He is definitely going to be staying in the rotation. And look at their rotation. I mean, it's just crazy. Okay, they have COVID, Garrett Cole, COVID, Jordan Montgomery. Then they have Domingo Hermanes on the IL. So this is what they're working with in their rotation. It is Jameson Taillon is their number 1 guy. And then they have Andrew Heaney. Okay, that's wonderful. Luis Gil is their number. It comes after Nestor Cortes. So this guy, Nestor Cortes, has excellent opportunity right now to stay in the rotation. Aroldis Chapman is on the injured list, by the way, too. I will talk about him in a second when we talk about injuries. But Loaisiga is going to probably get some saves. And maybe Zach Britton and even Chad Green. Who knows? But they're pitching like they have 11 starting pitchers here. They have 5 of them on the injured list, and 2 of them have COVID. So 7 technically out of 11 are on the injured list of some sort. Okay, Nestor Cortes is worth a grab. I told you Cal Quantrill is worth a grab too. Yesterday he allowed 4 hits over 7 scoreless innings against the Detroit Tigers. Yes, they're not the greatest team, but he did strike out a career high 10 without walking anybody. That's super. He retired 15 straight batters at one point, and Detroit only managed to get 1 runner into scoring position. He has now 4 straight quality starts, and since the beginning of July, he has a 1.96 ERA, a 104 WHIP, and a 32 to 13 strikeout to walk ratio in 41 and a third innings. That's wonderful. Then we will move on and talk about a couple 2-start pitchers. Jake Odorizzi, is he worth grabbing? I don't know, dude. He's been very disappointing, but he does have good matchups against Colorado. He's at home, wonderful, and then he goes to LA. His ERA over his last 4 starts is over 8, so I'm not a big fan of Odorizzi, but because of the matchups, I might consider throwing him in there. I mean, definitely the first matchup is better than the second, but also 2-start pitcher Triston McKenzie. He's going to pitch at home against Oakland, and then also he goes to Detroit, so that's decent. Well, Oakland's pretty tough. I wouldn't really forget about Oakland, okay, especially just lately. I don't know. They have something going on. They're really needing to win games because it will get them in the playoff, and that's always good. Triston McKenzie, I want to pull him up. I always talk about the Cleveland starting pitchers because I always feel like they are really good at letting their starting pitchers go deep into games. And usually I would say that they probably leave their starting pitchers in later than any other team. I would say that. I would bet on that. Let me tell you about the Happy Hour Social Club. The Happy Hour Social Club comes on Wednesday nights and even on Thursday nights. And Wednesday nights, of course, is ladies' night, and you will drink free there at the chat room. We start early, always. Like today. We start today for Wednesday happy hour. But it's King Hap and Taco. Great show there. Tomorrow we have Douglas. And of course, you can hear the lady and the legend at 9 in the morning. And then Douglas comes on about noon or 1, about 1 lately on Sundays. And then you have the Roto Imbeciles, George. He comes on at 6:30, and he's always got some interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know what it is, but it's entertaining, that's for sure. It's baseball, and it's entertaining. Another guy that has 2 starts is Luis Patino. He's going to face Boston and Minnesota. Neither of these teams are hitting well right now, especially with Boston having injury. JD Martinez being out is not helping them, but he wasn't being any good anyways. He wasn't hitting any good lately. JD Martinez is in a terrible slump. And then one of the better 2-start matchups, if available, but I doubt he's available in a lot of leagues, is Steven Matz. He's going up against the Angels at home, and then he travels to Seattle. That's great for him. Seattle pitchers, Seattle, that's a good match. I think it's called T-Mobile now, ballpark or something. T-Mobile Field. I think that's Seattle now. Anyways, the Toronto Blue Jays finally get to go home, and now they get to travel again, and that's how it works. So you also have, okay, I was going to talk about Paulo Espino, and the only reason I will talk about him is because, well, number one, he qualifies as a reliever, just like Cal Quantrill will, just like I don't know if Tristan McKenzie, but a lot of these guys, I like them in certain leagues because I have to have two relievers in points leagues. The starters are the ones that gets points. So they force you to put two relievers in your active roster, and this guy qualifies. I don't know if I'm going to start him, though, this week. He is going up against the Mets at New York Mets, and then he faces Atlanta at home. And he does have a 3.66 ERA on the season. So if you looked at his stats, you would say, yeah, he's okay. He's not bad to start pitcher. I have to say, though, first of all, he's not great against he's been good against Atlanta, but he hasn't started against them. He's only faced them 3 different times. He's faced them as a reliever. He has pitched 3 innings total against the Braves this season. His ERA is 0 against them, so he didn't do much. 3 innings pitched, 1 strikeout. That's it. No hits, no walks. I don't see, but he has 2 starts, by the way. And also, he faced the Mets one time as a starter. He did throw 5 innings against the Mets, which is good. It was on June 28th. He struck out 3 and 5 hits allowed. So he did get the win that day, and his ERA was 2.02. So he did face the Mets. He was very good against the Mets. His last 3 starts have not been that great, I'll tell you that. 9 earned runs in 15 innings. Only 3 walks, though, so he does keep the walks down pretty darn good. And, you know, he's a danger, though. He could blow up in either one of these starts. He could just blow up. Like his last outing, he pitched against the Phillies. He did go 5 innings. Actually, he's gone 5 innings the last 4 starts straight. That's really great. But he allowed all kinds of hits, 8 hits in 5 innings, 6 earned runs, a home run, walk. He just got slaughtered by the Phillies, but the Phillies are playing really good right now. So take it for what you will. He has a potential to blow up or do very well, maybe. We'll see. The last 4 outings, I'm pleased to see that he's 5 innings each, and I will probably keep him active in as a reliever because every time he throws an inning, you get 3 points for that, and it makes up for all the other crap that he does along the way. So, okay, there's a couple injuries to talk about, like Didi Gregorius. Didi is not in the lineup today, and he was removed yesterday because he had elbow soreness, which sucks for the Phillies. That really does suck because they're doing good right now, so they need him. But anyways, he's out. He's 31 years old. He's out of today's game. He could be out longer. We don't know. We don't know any more details. Rhys Hoskins, again, is not starting today, too, for the Phillies, dealing with groin soreness, and he's out of the lineup for the second straight game today. This is not good news for the Phillies, neither of these. We don't know if he's going to be available off the bench, but Brad Miller is going to start at first base. He's going to bat 5th in the lineup. Brad Miller. I told you that JD Martinez is out. He wasn't feeling well yesterday, and he wasn't feeling well today. So this is just precautionary measure. We don't know if he has COVID. He's obviously tested for it, so we're waiting. I mean, why in the world do we not have tests that are instant at this point? Seriously, I have a test at home that I got at Sam's Club that you could take for COVID, and you get the results back, and it's like a pregnancy test. So why aren't the players getting these instant tests back? It makes no sense to me that they have to wait for positive test results. For real. What the hell is that? Why does he? I'm sorry. That's stupid. It's stupid because he didn't feel good yesterday. They tested him this morning because he didn't feel good again this morning. Why don't they don't have the results yet? It's like they're closed on the weekends or some crap like that. What the hell? Honestly, dude, I don't get it. So anyways, we'll find out when we find out if he has COVID or not. Maybe not. We won't ever find out. But regardless, if he does test positive, you'll know. That's how you know, because he'll miss 10 days at least. That's how it works. Or he'll need 2 negative tests. But you could take 4 COVID tests in one day, you don't get the results back for 3 days, and you test negative in half of them and positive in the other half of them, and you don't know if you have it or not, and you don't know if your vaccine is going to work, and you just don't know any, we don't know crap about this COVID. But I mean, the deaths are definitely down, and the serious injuries, serious complicated problems are down big time. That's good. Every time the variant mutates, it's not going to be as powerful. The death rate, it won't be as deadly every time. The variant, new variants equals less deadly, maybe more contagious. Who knows? Part of me just wants to get over with. I mean, you get sick and tired of just wondering. I mean, once you get it, the chances are pretty good that you're not going to get it very bad if you get it again. If you do get it again, it's not going to hurt you any more than it did the first time. So anyway, I'm kind of like, that's how you really get herd immunity anyways, by the way. So that, whatever. I don't like to talk a lot about COVID on the show, but you can't really hardly avoid it. I mean, it's the reality of the world that we live in. So, I mean, Lenny and I are talking about, we want to go places and do a road trip, but it's very hard because we part of the reason we didn't go yesterday was because we just don't know, like, if they're going to change the rules, the laws, like, what are they going to do? Just, you don't know. It's just an unknown. So it's worth it for us to just push it off because it's not that important that we go, like, there's always next year, there's always next game. It's better to be safe than sorry. So that's what we're doing right now. But like I said, I don't want to bring it up too much, but it's kind of hard not to talk about because it's just the reality of the world that we live in. And maybe you came here to escape that. So let's move on back to baseball. Aroldis Chapman, 10-day injured list. He's got elbow inflammation. That sucks because it was retroactive to yesterday, but he has been picking up saves. I know he's been like kind of up and down this season, but he's been very good. The last 6 outings, he's gotten saves each of the last 6. But this new elbow issue, I'm sorry, but you know that Chapman doesn't really complain about injuries unless it's something really serious. This guy is like one of the toughest. Remember when he got hit in the head when somebody batted and the comebacker hit him in the head and he had to get stitches? It was probably going like 90 miles an hour off the bat and it hit him in the head. And I just remember his attitude was just like, I mean, he's a beast, okay? He's huge. He's like a beast. He doesn't get hurt very often. So the fact that he's got this elbow issue, it's like alarming to me because normally he doesn't complain about that kind of thing. He would rather play injured. We'll see what happens. Okay, so anyways, we don't know for sure how long he's going to spend on the injured list. Maybe he'll need more than 10 days. Maybe he won't. But you have Chad Green, Loaisiga. These guys are going to be in consideration for the saves while Chapman's out. Jurickson Profar, another guy that we don't know for sure if he has COVID or not, but he's on the COVID IL. So that's what you got there. He's out. You finally get Profar like doing really good things pretty much on a regular basis. Like, he's been pretty good. And whenever he gets good playing time, right now he's out. So Tatis, when he comes back, Malpal gave me some inside info. He said, look for Tatis to play center field when he comes back. I got to tell you, though, while it's my platform right now, that I do not believe that Tatis is going to come back like he was before he got hurt. I do believe that his injury was worse this time than it was any other time, and that every time it pops out of place or he has a subluxation, which is when it partially pops out of the socket, every time it does it, it makes it more of a chance that it's going to end up in surgery, which off season, it's like 100%. I mean, I would say, no, I'm not 100%. Otherwise, I'm not guaranteed this, but I'm 95% sure that he's going to undergo surgery this off season to fix his shoulder. He's been dealing with this shoulder problem for years. This year, though, it's been happening way more, and every time it happens, the chances of it happening again are up exponentially. He's definitely not going to come back the player that he was. If he does get to come, I mean, he said that there was a lot more inflammation this time than there was in any other time. Hold on a minute. I actually have a video of him I'll play for you guys. Just a second. Let me see how to do this. I just saw him talking yesterday. yesterday he did an interview with somebody, the San Diego Union Tribune, and let's hear what he has to say for sure. Okay, share screen. We're going to share audio, and we're going to choose the Chrome tab. Okay.
All the outfield work, is that will you be working at outfield, or what is that for?
A little bit of cardio, a little bit of cardio, but we'll see what happens.
How does your shoulder feel?
It's bouncing back a better way than everybody thought, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. It was way more. This time it stayed out a little bit more, so probably have a little bit more.
I don't know if you guys can hear it. Hold on a second.
I'm definitely coming back this season. Probably a little bit more, but like I said, it's a day-to-day thing, and let's just see how my shoulder bounces back.
What's the concern that there's any long-term damage?
Not much. I mean, talking to the doctors, I know my body very well. And everybody's working for what's going to be the best for me now and long term. And I feel like everybody's on the same page. I've been here 3 days already. Yeah.
It looked painful when it happens. What has this whole situation been like?
It was very painful, but I embrace it. I feel like that's part of the game. Stuff like that's going to happen, but the important thing is how you're going to bounce back.
Does it scare you to go out there again and it happening again?
No.
Are you scared at all that you might have to shut it down, or did you consider that option?
Yes. The first day, when I popped out, how I was feeling at night, how I bounced back the other day. It was not that fun, and we were thinking about everything at that point, but we decided to give it a little bit more days, and it's bouncing back pretty well.
Crazy to you how you've been able to come back from this and change and get so many home runs. I mean, is it wild?
Yeah, they started to think I'm not human, but I am, just in case. But no, I'm very grateful. I'm being taken care of at a young age, and I feel like everything is just rewarding me back. Yeah.
All right, so there's an echo, so I'm just going to stop it. And I think that the echo is coming through my thing. The sound is coming through my speaker, but hold on a second. There's too much going on. I should never do this. Anyway, whatever. Fernando Tatis admits that it was worse than it was before. And I agree that it's worse than it was before. And every time, of course, he doesn't want to come out. He doesn't want to come out, and he wants to play, and he's out there doing things. You saw, at least, I mean, maybe you heard echo, but you saw what he was doing. He's working out on the field. He's catching balls. He's throwing. He's got tape on his shoulder. But I'm telling you, every time this happens, it gets worse. And so he was saying that he feels like people are calling him subhuman, but he really is human. And he did admit that it was worse this time than normal. And definitely, is it still like that? Tell me it's not. It's better. So anyway, I'm just saying, Tatis is if you have him in fantasy, you have to roll with him. Hi, Eddie. Eddie, nice to see you. Okay. Oh, you're going to go to live church tomorrow. That's great. Okay, that's goody. So, did you guys have fun at the game last night? And I did send Samantha a little gift in the mail, so that should be coming out soon, maybe Monday. I saw that Nelly Cruz, right? Nelly Cruz, I believe he hit a home run yesterday, right? That's great for Nelly Cruz, but of course, it's not the right team. Anyway, moving back over here. Tatis is a risky situation. And so I'm just warning you and just telling you, you can't do anything with him now. If you have him on your team, you have to put him back in as soon as he comes back. And you just have to hope that he can finish the season like this. Don't be surprised if he doesn't. Another guy, the same situation. Jacob deGrom. What are you going to do with Jacob deGrom? Because he is on your team. If he is on your team, he's there to stay. You're not trading him. You're not going to drop him. You can only just hope that he comes back. He's on the injured list with forearm inflammation, and he was expecting a quick return, of course, because that's how they all are. Nobody wants to be a long-term injured, but he's shut down from throwing again, and he's describing his pain as being more in his elbow now. He was able to rule out ligament damage with an MRI, so we know it's not ligament damage, and he did have a CT scan, but he could be dealing with a bone spur. And this is coming from the doctor at The Athletic that I read, and she does an injury mailbag every once in a while, and I really like her stuff. She seems to be right on with her assessments, and she's obviously more qualified than I am. Okay. Anyways, he was feeling okay enough to throw from flat ground. And then, but when he moved to the mound to throw, his arm did not feel right. Now, this is a setback for DeGrom, but he is still confident that he can make it back this season. The doctor says she is not as optimistic, okay, as DeGrom is. Now, the player is always going to be optimistic because they want to play. I'm going to give her credit, okay? What's her name? Let me scroll up and find this woman's name. Virginia Zacas. This is who it is that I'm always referencing at The Athletic. So I would like to give her the credit that she's due here. She comes up with this stuff, and I just agree with her because I'm pretty sure she's right. Anyways, she said she's not concerned about DeGrom needing Tommy John surgery again. I believe that he did have Tommy John surgery already in his career, but it was a long time ago. I think that's right, but I'm not positive about that. I do think he did have Tommy John early. But here's the deal. She says he doesn't need Tommy John, even if it's in his elbow. But if he tries to come back too soon, his elbow and forearm, if they're feeling good, it could cause damage to the UCL, and then that would put him back in Tommy John surgery, discussion. So there's that with him. That's it, you guys. That's all we have to talk about today. And I think if we do want to go over some nuggets of Lenny's, let's see what we got here. No, we should do these tomorrow. I'm at 2:47. It's right at an hour. See what the chat room says. Don't count out the Brewers for the wild card spot. First of all, can the Brewers not win the National League Central? I don't know why they would need a wild card spot because they already are winning the division, and right now they are 7 games ahead of Cincinnati for the NL Central. So they don't need a wild card spot. But hi Daniel, nice to see you, Daniel. Douglas Boyle, Mal Powell, my friends, yay! Saturday baseball is back. They could, in theory, need a wild card. Why would they need a wild card? They're 7 games ahead of Cincinnati. I mean, it's possible. But I don't count anybody out except for I'm starting to be able to count out the National League East. Because if you said to me, where's the wild card's going to come from in the National League? There's 2 of them. I would say that none of them are coming from the National League East. And that's just because the Mets are 5 games back of a wild card right now, and they're second in that division. So they're actually a half a game behind Philly. If the Philadelphia Phillies win that division, they go to the playoffs and nobody else. And if the Mets win, then they go to the playoffs and nobody else. And the Atlanta Braves are only 1 game behind those 2. So this is a very close race within this division. It could go to any of these 3 teams. The Nationals are done and the Miami Marlins are done. You've got to count them out at this point. The Washington Nationals are 8 games back. Okay. But if you consider the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies, one of these teams is going to the playoffs and the other 2 are not, in my opinion. Maybe because of the Central. Even though the Reds are 7 games behind the Brewers right now for the division lead, they're only 2 games out of a wild card. So, I mean, they absolutely have a better shot than anybody in the East. That's my opinion. But I think that at this point, you can count out Pittsburgh and the Cubbies. And I would say you could pretty much count out St. Louis unless you think they're going to catch up 7 games to beat Milwaukee. I mean, 11.5 games. They need 11.5 games to win that division. There's no way they're going to do it. Cincinnati has a long shot. They're 7 games behind. But St. Louis is 7 games out of a wild card spot. That's not like totally impossible, but I would say the chances are very low. You got the 3 teams in the NL West, the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Giants. You have the Brewers, and then you have 1 team from the East. I don't know, maybe. The O's are definitely out. As far as the American League goes, that division in the East is super tight too. Okay, it's really tight for the wild card spot. All 3 of these teams could end up in the wild card for the American League. So you have Actually, I don't think so. Oakland's going to get one. They are 3 games behind Houston. The American League West, I would have to say Seattle. They're 7.5 games behind Houston. They're probably not going to win the division, but they're only 4 games out. They're 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. So anything can happen there still with that. In the Central, of course, you're going to have the White Sox. The other teams that are, you can pretty much count out all 4 of these other teams, even out of the wild card spot. None of them are getting to the playoffs. So that leaves the West and the East, and you have the Tampa Bay Rays just took the lead. Okay, they're 2.5 games ahead of Boston, and they're 5.5 games ahead of the Yankees. But I still think that the Toronto Blue Jays could win this division. They're 6.5 games back. I really do think it is possible. I really hope that it starts happening soon, or I'm going to have to give up on that theory, and then I'm going to have to say that's not possible at some point. But I'm not doing it till after August. So let's see what they do in this month. And they're only 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, so they could still make the playoffs even if they don't win the division. That being said, obviously the Orioles are out of it. They're the only team in the American League East that is out of it. But look at it this way, Eddie. The Orioles are moving up in the world. There's no doubt about it. They are not going to be a doormat for much longer. And they do have a lot of really good young and just up and coming talent. They have great young pitchers. They have good hitting and coming up. So let's just expect that. And then the A's or the Yankees for the last wild card. Well, we're going to see what happens with the Oakland Athletics. They were super smart to get the outfielder that they got. Is it Marte that they got? Who did they get? Who did the Athletics get? Thank God they got them too, right? Thank goodness, because Laureano now being out, I mean, he's not an outfielder. Hold on a second. Let me just look before I keep making up stuff in my brain. Athletics, they have Starling Marte. That's who they got. Starling Marte, the center fielder, and thank goodness they got him. They really need him right now. They must have known something bad was going to happen. But anyways, they definitely need him to do well. They have Marcana, who's great. I do think that I'm like instinctually root against the Yankees, even though I like the Yankees now. And I need to keep telling myself that because it's a total habit. I really like the Yankees and I want them to win. I'm pleased with what they're doing. But when I see 2 choices and one of them is the Yankees, like I immediately choose the other one. So that's just out of habit. That's it, you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday. I really enjoy having you guys in the chat room. Moustakas is back, by the way. Moustakas is back. Loved it. 3 doubles or something like that. It's about time too, and I'm not going to get too excited because this punk's been out all season. I'm no joke. I drafted him in an NL only league, and I've been just waiting for him. I mean, seriously, when you only have a couple injury spots on your roster, and this guy starts the season injured and stays out the whole time, it's good that he hit 3 doubles, but he needs to he better keep doing that. He needs to make up for lost time. He's been a big loss for me over in my NL only league, and George is in that league. Let's see what that thing is doing. I think I'm in 9th or 10th place. I do have Zach Wheeler, who's pitching today in that league, but I'm rolling with, I got Kyle Freeland about to pitch, so he needs to be in. Kyle Freeland pitching at home. I did pick up, if you pick up players in this NL only league, and so okay, that's one thing. When you pick up players, you're picking up players that just like anybody that has a heartbeat, basically anybody that makes an appearance or has like over 10 at bats in the last 7 games, like that's what you're doing. So I picked up McGill on a whim, and a lot of these players that I picked up you have to just take risks on players. It's not really risky when you have nobody else. But Malpow was talking about starting an only league moving forward. We do have a couple only leagues that we play in, but we'd like to start like a dynasty league, an only dynasty league. So anybody that's interested, we are going to start one next year, or, whenever. We're going to start one next year. you know, some of the rules that you have in these leagues, like if the player gets traded or something, that's not really your fault. I think that's ridiculous. Anytime that you have to give up a player if he gets traded into another league, I think that's BS. We don't like that rule. I love this league that I'm in now. You can pick up players anytime you want, but we'll have discussions about like what we want the rules going forward, because we hope to make it a league that we stay in for. I have one other dynasty league that Lenny and I play in, and that one's okay, but it's it's a regular 12 team mixed league. You get to make moves twice a week, and you get to pick up players once a week. But I don't know, a dynasty league. We would love to start one. We've been friends long enough now. With this website's been up since 2015. We've made some friends that have been, still our friends. Not very many. Okay. There's been turbulent times and lots of really great people that we've met that stayed with us, stay and always show up. And we really enjoy that. So we're going to do an Only League Dynasty coming up next year. Let me know if you're interested. I'm going off Spreaker now, and I'm about to go off StreamYard too. Thanks for coming this Saturday afternoon for Saturday baseball. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.